Afternoon and good evening wherever you are. Hope you're having a great day. We're here to talk about the ACP-520 and products. And there's already a quick update. Products are now, I think, called apps. So just to add some more confusion to the fire here. Anyway, morning, Frank. Good to see you. Already number one in the chat. You all notice there is a little top fans thing. You'll get a little crown if you chat a lot or if you do something like support the channel with a super. Feel free to fight over those numbers if you like. Anyway, we'll give folks a couple minutes just to trickle on in here before we dig in. But curious, and if anyone has any follow-up questions from last session. Oh, interesting. The community invite doesn't like emojis. That's good to know, Frank. Thank you for telling me. I'll have to go figure that out. Susan, welcome to New Mexico. Sarah, welcome as one of my coffee sponsors. I appreciate you. Phanindra, welcome back. I think I saw you here last week. Good to see you again. Sachin, always good to have you. All right. Got about 20 folks, maybe another minute or two to let others jump on in. But yeah, last time it was very helpful for me. I'm curious what folks thought of the quiz and the homework. For me, figuring out how the instances and organizations are set up is as much of a thought exercise as it is an exercise in like pushing buttons. So it's a good reminder that a lot of what we as admins are doing isn't in the system necessarily. It's not necessarily a feature or something in the product. It's more of a thought exercise, thought leadership, and what's the best way to set something up. So please keep that in mind as we go. And we're going to jump on in just some quick slides just to orient and then talk a lot more about apps. As a reminder, my name is Rob. And I guess the fun fact this time is you'll see the term apps thrown around instead of product. This is a recent change by Atlassian. At least I think that's correct. But you'll see these terms kind of interchangeably. Tonya, welcome. Happy Monday. So it's kind of like work items and that I term in Jira or soon to be Jira projects and Jira spaces. Atlassian is evolving its terminology. So just keep your ears and eyes open for those. As always, please use the chat to communicate. You're going to see me doing things like dropping in polls or Q&A into the chat just to help engage folks and get you all thinking a bit. But if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. You'll get updates. I've got a video today dropping around some updates to Confluence access controls, which I'm very excited about. John, good morning. But also, please like the stream. That helps other people find it and lets me know you find this interesting. So take a moment right now. If you like this stuff, hit the little thumbs up. And I'll remind you as we go just to push like. It's the simplest and easiest way you can support what I do. And I have, for those of you who don't know, transitioned to be more of a freelance content creator. So I can use all the support I can get. Also, please share this. There's a little share button. You can save it or share it with other folks. There's probably someone else where you work or who could benefit from this type of content. So please use those controls to give it to them. And again, that chat will be very useful. Don't just wait for me to engage in chat. If you have something you want to bring up, like Frank sharing the invite shows up with some, malformed text. It meant to be an emoji. It came out as something else. Please let me know there. But also interact with each other. This is not just for me to talk to you. It's also for you to interact. And if you're looking for more interaction, we do have a Discord server. I just put the link in the chat. As a reminder of the ACP-520 breakdown, Atlassian organizations comprise 40% of the exam. So if you are looking at sitting the exam and you don't know where to put a lot of your time, I would focus on organizations and users and groups. Not that these other topics aren't important. However, if you can nail organizations and users and groups, you have 74% of the exam. So you'll be sitting pretty good when you go in to take it. We'll cover all of this, but right now I believe the product/apps bit falls into the orgs aspect. So we're going to dig in and learn about these. Now we'll cover three kind of basic things today: managing products, managing billing, and updating products. So these will be the three main areas we'll be digging into. So please just keep your eyes and ears open for those, but also get out your pens and paper. Writing things down I find is very useful in remembering and learning stuff. So definitely get ready however you need to study. If typing works for you, that's awesome too. So we're just going to pop over back to our learning path under Administer Atlassian Organizations. And then we're looking for Manage Products. And the way to get here is under Certifications. Looking for Atlassian Certified Professional, and then Atlassian Cloud Org Admin. Start prepping for free. And I'll drop this link in the chat. I think maybe it's after this one, you need to be registered. So if you want to follow along on screen, I'll also be bouncing back and forth into a cloud premium instance where we can look at this as well. All right, so last time we spoke about the entire organization and a site. Now we're digging into the products, the things in there, things like Jira, things like Confluence, things like Bitbucket. So here we're going to just go through how to add and remove products from the org, deleting a whole site. I don't recommend unless you know for sure you don't need it. Sachin, welcome. Then things like billing and also like product URLs and landing pages. These are things that most people will never bump into and they just kind of take for granted. But we as admins need to know because this is how we set up Atlassian products. And it will come up from time to time in orgs as they add, change, or expand the need to add or remove products. So again, products are the individual things we want to use. Again, you might hear me use the term apps. Jira, Confluence are the two bigger ones, but there are other products you could go in and add. So we're going to go do this right now. We're going to go take a look at what it looks like to add a product. So first place I need to go is my admin hub, which is just admin.atlassian.com. And I'm going to go pick on the site I want to use. Maybe I'll pick on HeanTech today. And we can see this nice reminder, we're renaming products to apps. So again, keep in mind the term product and app are kind of interchangeable. Justin R., welcome, my friend. You have a chance to get a leg up on the other Justin and get a little crown if you go fast. So we can see here there are 4 products in this instance currently. Now I've got just Jira and Confluence loaded, so this one's pretty straightforward. But in here, morning Sarah. Ooh, I'll see if I can call the people I don't know at YouTube and have them fix it for you. From here, I can directly manage the product just by clicking on these manage product buttons. Flipping back into adding a site, adding a product though, there's just a button up at the top called Add Product. And this is where I'm going to see all the possible things I could add. Now you'll notice a lot of them say try it now. And that's because actually Jira Service Management I can stuff in here for free. So I can just click Start It Now and then fill in the site name that I want. So I'm picking the product and I have to tell it where to put it. And it's saying this is already taken. So I've already got Jira Service Management installed there. But that's how we're going to add a new product directly into it. Now it's saying if we already have it on all of our sites, we'll have to make a new site. So this is something we'll need to keep in mind, and that's happening here. If I go back one, and if I go back one and I go to add JSM, it's forcing me to pick a new site because I'm pretty sure all the existing sites I have already have JSM. Again, we can only have one version of each app or one copy of each app in each site we have. So that's why it's forcing me to make a new site here. Maybe I'll pick something I don't think I have. Let's try Bitbucket, sure. Nope, that didn't help. But that's how we add new sites. It's pretty straightforward. What's more important, though, is what happens after we add the site. There's some automatic steps that occur. For example, in the case of adding Jira, it's going to add it under the free trial plan, go to the setup, but it also adds default groups, adds that administrator product, and adds default access. So we need to keep in mind when we add products, there's a lot happening under the hood that even we as admins don't have to do, but we should be aware of, if that makes sense. We just have to know that, hey, all of these things are happening. I guess in a quick poll, I'll drop in. Just curious for the group, have you ever added an app to a site in Atlassian? And just curious to see who's done this hands-on versus who this is more of a, what am I looking for here? A conceptual idea. Mostly yes. Okay, a couple of no's. We can also remove them for some reason, and that's basically canceling the subscription. Now, an important thing, and they really should make this bigger and bolder and uglier, canceling the subscription deletes the data. So just be aware, if we go in here, I'm going to back up Heen Tech. If I go in under billing, I should be able to manage it right from in here. Manage, delete. Ooh, thinking real hard. I can cancel the subscription right from the More Actions menu. Again, this is something we want to be very careful about, because if we do this, it's gone. There's no uncancel. We can add Confluence back, but it will be a new copy, a new version of Confluence. So we'll lose the data, and that's where it's telling us org or site admin should export data before removing the product. So just something we need to be super extra careful of. And Sachin is adding products all the time. I love it. Yeah, about 3/4 of us have done it. 1/4 of us haven't. Now we then need to manage or maintain products on various sites. So when we create a new org and site, we'll see prompts to add or configure products. Again, if we first add Jira, it's going to give us that, I'll call it nag screen, to go in and add a new project. They'll call these spaces soon. And then in Confluence, it'll automatically give us that personal space, but then prompt us to make a team space. So again, these are things that this might pop up on the exam if you're taking the 520. What happens if you add Confluence and you have a series of options? You get a personal space and it'll prompt you. Jira is just going to prompt you to make a project. And again, that reminder, the same product can only exist in each site one time. We can't have multiple versions of the product in one site. And here's our friend Woozlemania. Just as a reminder of structure, their organization has 3 different sites: India, France, Spain, and they've chosen to split up Confluence for India, Jira for France. Spain gets both. Keep in mind, this Jira admin is a bonus product. It's just included when you have Jira. So you won't be able to install it separately. It is just implicitly there, automatically added. But here I couldn't add another Jira into France. And Jira includes both what they used to call Jira Software and Jira Service Management. Excuse me. Canceling, we briefly just spoke about this, but again, that's the removing it from the site. Site admins can cancel sites that they are administering. So you have to have admin access to cancel it, which makes a whole ton of sense. It's that same process we just saw where we go in through billing. So I would go pick on manage and then up at the top. Frank's got a call out here on the Jira admin product. You know, Frank, I'm not sure why. I'll see if I can answer why it's a separate product. My knee-jerk response and my assumption is it's an older product and that's how they first built it, and it's just stuck that way. And I say that because Confluence doesn't have that. None of the other products have 2. All the administration is one thing. So it's interesting that it's separate, but I'll see if I can figure out why. But you're correct. There is the user access admin. I don't know why that would require its own app, though. Now, so it's a design choice they made at some point that maybe they will try to change, or maybe they just say, yeah, we'll stick with it. Canceling those is hidden up under these three dots again. So I have to go into billing, not into products. And that's something that confuses me a bit. So that's something I write down. All right, so that's adding and removing. Fairly straightforward. There's a nice big add button under products. And then you just pick the site you want to install it on. I'm curious what questions you'll have. I'll drop a question bar just across the top. And just a quick reminder, if you like this, please just hit that like button. It's a little thumbs up kind of right under me. Easiest way to support me. I'll talk about other ways you can support me as we go. But I did drop a goal for some, I think they call them supers in the chat, if you think this is good stuff. We won't go through the quizzes live, but I do recommend check out these quizzes. They'll help test your knowledge, and I will put together a quiz for this. I didn't have time this last week, but I got some good, excuse me, interaction on last week's quiz. So be on the lookout for my follow-up email for my own non-official quiz that I'll put together. But these are useful ways to check your knowledge. But also, if you're sitting the exam, this is similar to the structure you'll see on the exam. It's not identical, but it's similar to what you're going to see. All right, managing billing. Again, very exciting topics we're talking about here. Now, one of the things we need to just know is who is billable. How does Atlassian know to charge us money? And they become billable as soon as they get access. Now, there are some types of users who aren't billable. For example, customers in Jira Service Management aren't billable. You can have an unlimited amount of customers. You're billed by the agent, the person who can work on the ticket. Other products like Guard count across the instance, some just for the site or just the app. And this is another important caveat, something that will probably come up practically. Anyone with product access counts towards a subscription. It means that it doesn't mean they have to have been logged in. So if I give Frank access to my Confluence Cloud, that's going to count towards my subscription or count towards my user count, even if Frank never really goes in and does anything in Confluence. So something that we as admins need to keep in mind when we're explaining why the bill is what it is. It's once they get product access. So we can keep an eye on folks and remove them from those access lists if we realize that the bill is creeping up and we need to keep it down. Now, you access billing. Wow, excuse me. The access you have to billing depends on your access. Org admins can see billing kind of across the board, which makes a ton of sense. I'm just going to move my head on it. Yeah, I'll put me on this side. They can see all the billing from the billing preview on the billing tab. And so if I go back, that would be this guy. Now, this is not the best example because these are all free tiers, but I can see how many users are in each. I've got 4 in Confluence, 4 in Jira, and 2 in Jira Service Management. It's telling me the plan they're on. They're free. This would be standard, premium, or enterprise if that was appropriate. And then it would give me the estimates for how much it would cost and when the bill is. So I can always come in here and just eyeball this. Site admins can see it through the site they admin. So they don't have access to the billing tab. They go in through the site they administer. Sachin, how to add a site. I'll come back to that in a minute, my friend. Right? I'll get to the end of billing and then I'll circle back. Billing contacts can be assigned by an org or site admin. So if I come into billing details, where are my billing details? Another log loading page. Here we go. So I'm under billing permission specifically for Confluence, and I can see I have one billing admin. So I'm the billing admin for this, and this allows me to see billing information for this particular product. And so this allows this individual to see billing information and also chat with Atlassian about it, I believe. I can add or remove them under actions. Here we go. Remove billing admin or add. Or a technical contact can also have limited access. So basically, org admins get it all, site admins get it for the site, and you can also assign other people as the billing or technical contact to help out with that. In smaller orgs, one person might be all of these things, so it hold all of these roles. In bigger orgs, you might want to break this out so different people can. Frank, thank you for jumping in. I'll let you keep helping Sachin there. I like that back and forth. Okay, to get your exciting invoice, we need to go into the product tabs and billing. I bet you all didn't think you'd be waking up and talking about exciting topics like how to get an invoice out of Atlassian. This is what gets me up in the morning. It's what gets me going. I'm saying that totally jokingly. But again, this is what makes the product go. This is what, keeps the system running for everyone else. I've got my product. Let's say manage product. Whoop, come back here. I might not have any billing history in here at all because these are all free products. Oh, good. They have a screen share that's covered up by a bunch of glowing dots. But we can get an idea of, excuse me, a list of all of the products we'd have, the plan we're paying on, the number of users, and the price estimates. So again, billing preview is where we go to see what we would be paying as we go. And then we can go in if we need to and get the billing history for each of them. And Frank, that sounds, yeah, thank you, Frank. If anyone is has a ton of spare time, a fun exercise would be to see how many sites you can cram into one organization. I haven't seen an upper limit. Practically most groups wouldn't have too many. But to Frank's point, if you need multiple JSM instances or Confluence instances, they have to be in different sites, period. That's just how Atlassian has set it up. So in billing, we can see the product or app. We can sort by it. Yep, the plan we're on, how many users, etc. And you can dig in with the manage, which is the link right over here, manage product. We can dig in and see who these people are. These groups, and I have a link right here that will show me all the licensed users I have. Org admins can also manage subscriptions across the site or across sites. So in general, org admins can touch every site, whereas site admins are restricted just to the ones that they're the admins of. And this includes things like changing the cloud plan, upgrading, downgrading, deleting, canceling, etc. Now, each of these things will impact billing, which again makes sense. If I'm thinking through when I make a change to my products, I'll need to pay Atlassian more or less for those things. And this is where when you make a site admin, if you're the org admin, they need to understand if they change something, it's going to cost the company or it's going to change your billing. So this is, again, why we tend to not have many org or site admins. You don't want too many people going in here changing these things. Ooh, Rohit. A maximum of 150 sites. Interesting. I'm just trying to imagine what it would be like to have 150 sites, because each site would have to have, they don't have to have an app in them, but each one would probably have an app. So what org needs 150 instances of anything? And what are they doing with them all? And how do they manage them? It's just interesting things to think about. An important carve out at the bottom here. If you exceed limits for a free plan, a trial automatically starts. So this is in a little box at the bottom. These are things that I always write down, especially if I'm going to take the exam, because this isn't a gotcha, but it's something that if I don't know it, I don't know it. And I can't guess. I can't guess that this will happen. So anytime I see something in a box here, I write it down. In this case, if you exceed user limits, you automatically get a standard plan trial, and you'll get billed at the end of it. But if you drop back down below 10 users, it won't automatically switch. So if you go over it and you're paying, if you go over the limits, it'll automatically start paying. If you drop below the limit, though, it's not going to drop you back down to free. It's going to keep you on whatever you're at, which kind of makes sense. You don't want someone to lose all the access that they've had, but also could be surprising if you assume, hey, it's going to go back down to free automatically. So they're going to charge you automatically. They're not going to not charge you automatically, if that makes sense. All right, changing subscriptions. We go to billing and manage. Select change. Okay, billing. Oop. Billing. I'm going to go manage compliments. And right up at the top, I have change plan. And then here I have all of the different plans I could choose. Oh, you can skip the trial. I don't know why anyone would skip the free trial, but okay. But it's going to calculate out. I've got 4 users right now, so it's saying, hey, it'll cost me $6 per month, excuse me, or $12 per month per user. And I can scroll down and just see what I get for those things. So a reminder of what you're paying for, essentially, and then the ability to just automatically switch it on. You'll notice that these are all monthly, and I don't have an enterprise option. Typically, you need to contact sales to get enterprise information. So if you're just spinning up an organization, this would be the way to do it. Although if you're large enough, you might already be on enterprise. And so that'll make it a little bit easier. Ooh, Pam, I like that example. A game development company with different vendors working on each game. So I'm at Gaming Corp. I'm working on 90 separate games. Each site would be its own game that people go and work in. All right, get out of here. That's canceling subscriptions. Probably, well, I wouldn't say fairly uncommon. I haven't personally run into it. Billing details. Again, exciting stuff here, group. Payment methods. Billing contact gets the invoice. What are we unpacking here? We've got a billing contact that gets invoice and billing inquiries and can raise support requests. And the technical contact can raise support requests but can't necessarily get billing. Both can view and pay invoices, add billing, or technical contacts. What is IIRC, Frank? Sorry. Indivisibly, irreparably repaired creatures? I'm just not familiar with that acronym. And my head's a little bit low. There we go. Billing history and bill estimate. Managing subscription for a site provides access to billing history. Again, I won't have any billing history in here. Kind of as we saw, the next price estimate is going to be blank. And there's no history to speak of just because this is a free instance. But, gotcha. Kind of like it, as far as I know, AFAIK would be another one. Bill estimate page shows the billing period, the number of billable users, and the amount charged. So that would show up in here, and there's a screenshot actually we can just use as an example. Here, I'll see if I can zoom in a bit. I'm always in the way. So in this screenshot, we can kind of see Jira Service Management is on premium. They have 14 users, and somehow they're not paying anything for it. That must be nice. They're billed monthly, and they'll get billed in November. Excuse me. So again, this is giving us just that high-level information over what the bill would be by product, so we can see that breakdown easily. Thank you for confirming, Frank. I appreciate that. Or letting me know what it is anyway. Okay, questions on billing. Enterprise tier, you can have multiple sandboxes of a single instance. Whoop, and that message is gone. All right, folks, that was our chunk on billing. Please keep using that Q&A. Drop your questions at the top. And let me know what questions you have on this or adding or removing products. We've got one more section to go before we can pop into a review and some other related topics. But again, quick reminder, if you haven't and you like this, please hit that little like button. That'll help me out. And we've also got our Discord channel you can pop on into if you are looking for more information. All right, product URLs and the landing product. In my demo instance, the URL is the Atlassian assigned one. And that's always .atlassian.net. But org admins can change the subdomains that you're using. Now, subdomains and like URLs are not an Atlassian specific thing. So if you're familiar with tech, you're probably familiar with how these work. But the overall URL, the where it goes is Acme US is what that says. I was trying to say Achemis. acmeus.atlassian.net sends them to the Confluence site. And the subdomain, this term, is the thing before the top level domain. So Atlassian.net's the top level. Next, we have a subdomain, the Acme US. Now, in this example, Green Mountain uses Green Mountain as its subdomain. If you go make a free product right now, you'll get to pick the site, and that's essentially the subdomain. So if I go in and I go add a product, I worked with Jira Service Management. Here is where I'd be adding this information. I've got my top level, Atlassian.net, and then I could add a subdomain when I start. And oddly, subdomain.atlassian.net is a valid subdomain. So that's what they're talking about when they mean subdomain and the URL. Typically, the subdomain is like the name of the organization. It's also the site. Interesting, the site has to have Jira or Confluence Standard, Premium, or Enterprise. So this is, again, a caveat that we as admins have to understand. You have to be using Jira or Confluence to change the URL. And also, it looks like Atlassian reserves URLs. So this means if we have greenmountain.atlassian.net, no one else can ever use greenmountain.atlassian.net, even if we go and change Green Mountain to something different later. And this, I imagine, is so they can support redirects. What that means is if we had Green Mountain and we change it to something else, and someone still tries to get Green Mountain, it'll automatically send you back. Yep, users are using the previous URL are redirected. So this is a nice thing Atlassian does. Again, if you change the site URL, that subdomain, to something new, people who go to the old one, it'll still work. They'll still direct you to the new site. And they limit you to only 3 URL changes. This is interesting. I didn't know this particular fun fact. So you get up to 3 changes. So hopefully you can lock down what your idea is. It's for the entire site, and you can't change it for each product, which makes sense because the products all exist within one site. Whatever that site is, it's going to get you access to those products, those apps. Atlassian.net, select an org. Let me back up here. Let me back up even more. All right, I'm in HeemTech. That's great. Products URL. So we won't be able to do this because this is a free site. But I'm curious if it even shows it. There it is. Products URL. And here I can see all the URLs for it. But again, this is a... there are no paid products here. So I can't update these URLs. But I can see the URL for the overall site. And then for each of the products. And interesting, I just noticed this. Interesting that the URL for Confluence is /wiki, but for Jira it's /Jira. Another throwback to Confluence being just a wiki. It's also easier to type, I think, than all of Confluence. But here's where I can change these URLs. Again, if I'm on a paid product, I can only do it up to 3 times. Then I'm stuck, and it changes for the whole site. So it's kind of nice here. I can see the site, and then they're all indented a little bit. So I can easily see that these are products, apps within the HeemTech site. Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that, Rohit. What Rohit is referring to, and this is, I don't know if we'll cover this in this training actually, sandboxes are basically copies of your instance that you can go play in that are not production. They're not where people are actively working, so you can go test things out. Rohit's letting us know he's been able to create multiple sandboxes for a production site to go practice in them, which can be very useful if you're trying to test things out or tinker with things. Excuse me. We can also use custom domains. So what we've seen so far, the free ones are always .atlassian.net, whatever your site name is. Big organizations could leave it at .atlassian.net, but you could also use a custom domain. And I can't do that here because this isn't, a paid site. But I could have, Confluence at .heem.tech or any other thing I could make up. The example here is instead of going to acme.atlassian.net, you could go to go.help.acme.com. And so this redirects traffic to whatever domain you want. It is reminding us org admins can do this, site admins cannot. So that's an important difference we have to keep in mind. Much of what we've spoken about, billing, adding products, canceling, a site admin might have control of, but the custom domain is at the org level. The nice people at Atlassian just decided that, and it can only be done for paid products. That's why I don't see it. Some important caveats. Again, these are more technical. Most people won't run into this unless they happen to be that org admin. But this can have impacts on integrations. So this will be something that we as admins just need to be aware of in change management. When we go and use a custom domain, we just have to know, hey, this might go break some app that my team's using somewhere else. I need to go talk to them, or I should go, call up technical support and see what's going to happen. So we need to be very careful when we start changing things like URLs because we might accidentally break someone's ability to access the system or do what they need. You can't use a domain name that's already in use. That makes a lot of sense because then your traffic goes somewhere else. And it should be public. That also makes a lot of sense. This box is a little confusing. I can't tell if this paragraph only refers to Jira Service Management because they're referencing customers. But certainly if you're using JSM, you want a publicly accessible domain because then your customers can get to it. But if there's information that is not publicly accessible, they won't be able to get to it through Jira Service Management. So again, a little reminder that we just have to make sure if we're making it publicly accessible, it has to be publicly accessible, which sounds kind of silly to say. App links use the default URL instead of custom. So that's saying if I have a custom link, any apps that I use are going to not use that one. They're going to use the .atlassian.net. So again, something else that is unexpected that I as the admin just have to be aware of. To add the custom domain, we just briefly saw that up under products, product URLs on the left here, custom domains. Again, we have to have a paid product to do this. Also, when I first saw this, I thought it was somebody's head and their shoulders, not the earth with a little like map icon. And it can take 30 minutes for this to work. So this isn't something you just wake up and decide to do. Your organization has probably been planning on this or thinking through how are we going to transition to custom domains. All right, folks. If you haven't, please liked. You can also support me with a super or a channel membership. I've got some great stuff for members, and I'll be changing how I save off all the live things and having kind of a paid catalog soon. So please consider either using a super to support me or becoming a member to get some better content going forward. There should be a button somewhere around here to support me that way if you like. Okay, a landing site. When users go to a site, they end up on a specific product. Makes sense? You go to heen-tech.atlassian.com, you're going to go somewhere. Where should you go? The org admin can determine where they get to go. So I'm going to go to admin.atlassian.com, go to my products. And then up under more actions, update landing product. And I can pick Jira or Confluence. Let's go to Confluence, sure. Oh, wow, this update may take 2 hours to take effect. Okay, that's good to know. If a user doesn't have access to the product, they will still land in the selected product. They'll see a prompt to request access. So this could be something that I could see being very frustrating. If I accidentally give them access to Jira and they don't have a license, all they're going to see is a button saying request access. And so that could be a non-ideal or less than ideal way to go about this. So just be aware that if you send them to somewhere they don't have access, they're just going to have to go ask. So something that we as admins just have to know. It's not going to grant access. Thinking this one through, it makes sense though. If you don't have access to a site and you go there, you can't see it. So just something to keep in mind. All right, I'm going to start grabbing some questions. This is about the end of the managing products or managing apps. Where was that changing? Frank, that's a great question I'll need to follow up on. I based that 3 off of what's in the training right here. Let me see if I can easily copy this question. Boop. And save it somewhere. I assume that this is only by pushing that update URL button. At least I hope so, because I could see a legitimate need to move it around. But I'll follow up, Frank, and see if I can get a solid answer. Susan, I don't have Jira, but have Jira Service Management. Do you see an option for Jira, Susan? So if I go in here and I update landing product, I have both Jira and JSM. All I have is Jira. And this is where for me it can be a bit confusing. When Atlassian refers to Jira, they mean either Jira or Jira Service Management usually. They kind of merge them all into one. For example, it used to be Jira Software. So if you set this to Jira, Susan, I bet it would send folks to JSM. Chad, welcome. You made it in the last 15 minutes. We're just reviewing things, my friend. Chad's also one of my wonderful coffee sponsors, making sure I'm caffeinated. I appreciate it. Got stuck working at work. Not a bad excuse. Glad you could join us for some part of it. Hope work went well. Just checking chat for other questions. Justin's asking if the billing if getting forced into a paid plan with maximum billing, I have no idea, my friend. That is a great question, though. And I assume that's in relation to an auto upgrade, I'll call it. We had the question, how many sites can you have? About 150 is our current guess, but that is a lot of sites. The one use case we had there, as a reminder, was you're a gaming developer, and each game you're working on or each thing you're working on has its own site to keep them all separate. And that's an important thing to consider in terms of access. One way you can control access is with licensing into a product or an app. Another way is just don't give them site access and have all of your products entirely separate through sites. So that's one way to manage it. A more extreme way is different orgs. JSM is an app within Jira. Boo. See, I think JSM needs some more love. Yeah, there's not nearly enough stuff around JSM out there. However, that does explain why it shows up within Jira. A question about billing with Guard Premium. If we set up customers to authenticate through our identity provider, are we charged an Atlassian Guard license? I don't know that one offhand. Let's go quickly look. And if anyone in the chat knows offhand, that would be great to know. Customers portal only. I will follow up, Annette, on this one. What am I looking for here? Yeah, I'll have to dig in on that. That's a good question, though. Especially with Guard, because it's org-wide. I would hope... I'm going to lean towards no, because customers otherwise aren't billed. And the intention of like Jira Service Management is to give a wide range of folks access. Again, I'm that games developer. I want all of my thousands and millions of customers in the world to be able to drop in tickets. So I can't see Atlassian charging for all of that. But if anyone just knows, would love to hear in the chat. Dave, welcome. All right, interesting discussion here. All right, yeah, I'll see what I can find for you, my friend. I'll try and get an answer in our Discord channel. I'll drop it there, and then I'll see if I can do like a blog post on community or something this week when I get an answer. John is suggesting even if they do not have an active product license, they're not billable. Yeah. All right, folks, what other questions do y'all have on products, billing, and changing products? Again, this is a topic that most people don't even think about. It just doesn't happen. But it's very, very important for us as admins to know how it works. And again, these questions like Annette has on, hey, how exactly does billing work with Guard in this instance? Super important. Because our organization will be on the hook for a bill, and we need to be able to explain it and be ready for it when it comes in. All right. My standard shout for help. Please let me know how you feel about these sessions. What can I do better? What can I do to make your learning experience, more solid, more better-er? I'll drop a link to this. This goes to a Google form. I really appreciate the folks who have provided feedback, because this helps me make better stuff for y'all. So any thoughts you have, you can also find me on Discord. You can just hit me up directly or on LinkedIn, anywhere you see me really. Some of the feedback I've gotten from y'all is, condensing questions so I can focus more on the hands-on, finding better ways to handle the Q&A, and then also trying to direct, well, yeah, all those things. I've got some other changes coming up that I won't spill the beans quite yet. I did mention that I am now a freelance content creator. I'm doing some freelance project management, but there are a number of ways you can support me in this endeavor. Of course, please just come to these live sessions. That's the easiest way. Hit the like button if you haven't. But if you're looking for more training on topics like Confluence, I've got a number of Udemy courses. And this link here will take you to the best discount I can give you. This is a 4-hour training course on Confluence. I'm working on a 2.5-hour course on Trello with my friend Brittany Joyner. I'll share that one when it's ready. But if you know someone who could benefit from this, or even yourself, this is another great way to help support me and make sure I can keep doing this kind of stuff. Because right now, I don't have a sponsor for these. I'm only getting paid by exposure, so to speak. So there's a quick coupon right there. Our next session for ACP-520 is going to be next Monday. I'm getting my days mixed up. Same time, same place. And we're just going to keep on rolling through sites. We'll dig into, I think, users and groups next. Between now and then, I've stood up a new site for the ACP-520. I'll pop over to that real quick. This is my website, and up under Atlassian Study Community, there's ACP-520. And this is where I'm going to start collecting all the resources I have on this certification. So a link to all of our Atlassian documentation, my YouTube stuff, my playlists, Discord, other study aids like quizzes and homework. As they come live, they'll be down here. So keep an eye on this for more ways to study and learn. Again, the goal is to give folks more ways to interact with this content so they can become better, faster, stronger, smarter Confluence admins. But please study on your own. The 8 or so hours we have together might be enough for some people to pass the exam if they want or learn the content. But please make sure you're writing down notes, you're challenging yourself to go in and look at product and billing pages, even in a free site, and that you're talking to other people around this stuff. So that Discord community is a great place. Other people at your organization, other folks in the greater Atlassian community is a great place to go. This recording will be available in a few hours on YouTube, along with all of the other recordings. So please watch those and get hands-on. Again, if you want to sit this exam, you really need to know this stuff, especially those random little did you knows. Like, I won't say gotchas because they're not tricking us. It's just can be unexpected behavior we need to be aware of. Rohit, thanks for the help with Guard, by the way. An option to export. You can see all the free versus build. Otherwise, folks, I'll double check if there's any more questions in that little questions box. I don't see any. But please drop your questions in the chat, and I'll just keep kind of babbling on about, what it's like to manage products in Confluence Cloud or Atlassian Cloud. But please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't. Again, I'm being a good YouTuber. And getting over a cold, excuse me. So again, next week we're going to dig into users and groups. My biggest frustration not being an org admin much of the time is I can't make groups, so I'm excited to share more about that feature and ability. But groups are an incredibly useful way to help manage access, to help manage who's doing what, and they can be automated. I'll talk more about this, but I've been spoiled where I've had automated groups by location, by manager, by user type. And that made it very, very easy to slice and dice access because I could just pull up the right group for IT support desk technicians in Colombia. I can get them all in a group instantly. So that's what's in store. I'll keep the chat going for a bit, but again, that's all I had on managing billing and products. So please keep chatting, keep that going. And let me know what questions you have or what other topics you want to bring up. And I see some of us have joined in Discord. That's awesome. Here, I'll put links right at the top of the chat. And Annette, hopefully Rohit's back and forth has helped you a little bit. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. And I thank you all for joining me. Again, billing and products are not the most exciting thing. Um, Chad, you're welcome, my friend. If anyone's wondering why Chad's avatar looks a bit different, he's an official coffee sponsor. So he's a member of the channel. That'll get you access to videos in advance. I publish some Fridays for members. They're available Mondays for the rest of everybody. And I'm also going to be working on some different ways to offer more benefits to the higher tiers of membership. So be on the lookout for that. Justin, good to see you, my friend. Sachin, you're very welcome. Frank, I appreciate you being here as always. Tushar, I'm glad you can make even a portion of this. Glad you're here, my friend. And yeah, it takes YouTube some number of hours. It should be available by end of day Pacific Standard, so in the next 10 hours, I hope. Sachin, you're welcome. Glad you're here. All right, folks, with that, I'm going to leave the chat open, but I'm going to drop off. Thank you all so much again. Please remember to like, subscribe, and let me know what other topics you are interested in or curious about. It doesn't just have to be certification-related stuff. Any other Atlassian tangentially related topic would be appreciated, just to see how I can better support you. So thank you all. Have a great day wherever you are, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here again very soon.